In life, there has always been the age-old question, what if? No other industry has that ever been more prevalent. Than in the world of professional wrestling. And on this very broadcast, the what ifs arrive here. From tournaments reimagined to individual runs re-strategized, to entire brands being reshaped, to entire eras redefined. This series allows your imagination to run wild. Wrestling Fortune 44 Incorporated presents a creative production called the Fantasy Booking Series.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Booking Series, episode 13. I don't know when you're going to see this. I think it's 13, but I'll update the title later if it's not. Because we have a lot of fantasy bookings in the can that have to get out first. So today, this is being recorded on January 22nd at 2:17 p.m. right now, EST. And I'm Owen Finch, and I'm here. This is the first time ever. We've never done a video with just us before. I'm here with
Steve Coakley. Rockland Rampage is back in action.
I know, this is the first time we've done you actually picked this fantasy booking series. You pitched this idea, and I said I'd do it with you. So,
yeah.
Wanted to talk about like the fantasy booking series you picked and kind of go through why you wanted to do it, and I'll kind of set the table of what happened in real life.
Yeah, well, to give you the idea of why I wanted to do it, because I asked myself the question. I was like, I wonder what people on the internet think about this. I found a grand total of one Reddit page with like 3 comments like, oh yeah, good job. And I was like, oh, I can do better than that. So that's what made me decide to ask what would happen if Goldberg didn't leave after WrestleMania 20.
Yep, so I'll set the table for you. I don't know what route you're going to go, if you're going to do like a full fantasy thing, or there's a channel called Polina Productions that like does what ifs and books how the company would book. So it'll be interesting to see what you do. But yeah, I'll set the table for you. So if you remember, go back in like 2003, Goldberg came into WWE. He had like a year run, and it was pretty lackluster. He did hold the belt a few times, but they definitely didn't utilize him to his strengths, if you could say. He had too many long matches, and the SummerSlam 2003 main event where he didn't win the title did him no favors, and then he had like a lackluster title win because him and Triple H really didn't like each other, so they didn't really want to have good matches with each other. And then he lost the title in a triple threat match without being pinned, and then he never got a rematch for it, actually, I don't think. Then he entered the Rumble, and then Brock cost him to get eliminated. And then they started that feud, which people were excited about because they were like the big horses that everyone wanted to see go at it. So then he showed up at the Royal Rumble, No Way Out 2004, and screwed Brock Lesnar out of the WWE Championship. And then they had the match at WrestleMania 20. And since the fans knew both guys were leaving, nobody cared about it, so they didn't want to have a good match. And they had a lackluster match. Goldberg won, and then Goldberg just Austin, Austin stunned both of them, and then that was it. And it's gonna be interesting because from there, in real life, he left. At some point, he filmed the Santa Claus movie, so that would be and then at some point, that would be interesting because you're possibly going to prevent a birth from happening because that's how him and his wife met. So that would be interesting. And he was basically out of the wrestling scene up until 2016 when he did the stuff with I forget which game it was. It would have been 2K17, right? Because you always count.
Yeah.
They always and then came back and did the stuff with Brock. In my opinion, and then we'll get to your booking. Critics-wise, as of right now, he's probably like the most controversial person because it depends on what you like in a wrestling. If you like Goldberg, for me, like I just don't really get into Goldberg now because everything that I like he ruins. Like Brock Lesnar's run because he had to squash Brock at Survivor Series. It led to the title one that nobody liked, and he held it for like almost a year and was never there. I always say like if Goldberg didn't squash him, they wouldn't have put the belt on Goldberg, and they wouldn't have put the belt on Brock later and stuff. And then he squashed Kevin Owens, which caused the Chris Jericho Kevin Owens match to get moved to second match on the card that Vince didn't like when it didn't get the proper recognition in place that it deserved. Then he retired. I remember too, like I hated him in his retirement speech, like after the show because like he told me I couldn't cheer or boo or do nothing. He wanted it to be. He was just being like an ass that day, and he just rubbed me the wrong way. And then he came back like in 2019 and have the match with the Undertaker in Saudi Arabia that I finally did see that we don't talk about. That was bad. Then he redeemed him.
I gotta say though, that Saudi Arabia match, as horrible as a match it is, and as horrible everything surrounding that match, like the circumstances and all, it is honest to God a must-see match. It's like a train wreck where you just can't look away.
I mean, I kind of look away when like they both get nearly dropped on their heads. But that's the only time. Honestly, the match actually. The match didn't start out that bad up until Goldberg got busted open. It was actually going along fine, in my opinion. But then he squashed off Ziggler to kind of redeem himself from that, and then then he could have walked away then, and then he squashed the Fiend, which honestly you could make the argument Bray kind of hasn't recovered from that still.
Well, yeah, you know what it is honestly to me is. It's not that Bray didn't recover, but the title didn't. Bray just kind of walked away from that like, whatever. It's like, oh, well, the guy just lost, the big prize in the company. If he doesn't care about it, why is anyone else going to care about it?
I think the thing that ruined it was there was a way to do it. It should have been the Firefly Funhouse Bray that got squashed, not the Fiend. That would have been okay. That would have been all right.
Yeah, underestimating him and being like, oh, I'm not taking this seriously.
Yep. And then he was supposed to face Roman for the belt at Mania, but then Roman didn't want to do it because obviously of the COVID.
The pandemic, yeah.
Yeah. And then so then he lost to Braun because Roman just kayfabe-wise just decided not to show up, and they just said, "Hey, Braun, you can take the spot." There was no explanation of where Roman went. He just didn't show up to work that day, so he's like, "Okay, you don't get a title match now."
And as happy as I was to see Braun finally get his spot that he deserved, you knew it wasn't meant to last.
Yeah. Plus his title one wasn't all that good because he was never meant to be there and stuff, and it was also too little, too late for Braun. He should have had the belt a lot sooner than he did. And then we haven't seen. Actually, I was gonna say we haven't seen Goldberg since. I forget he's facing Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Prior to that, the last thing I saw him on was he did a WWE. Was it Untold? Yeah, WWE Untold. He did an episode on the streak that was, it was a nice watch.
Yeah.
The Goldberg everyone liked, 1998 to 1999.
Yeah.
No, 99 to 98. My bad.
So now we're gonna take a look at I'm going to say universe, but Steve's universe, if Goldberg never left WWE, if he had stayed with WWE and re-signed after WrestleMania 20, hopefully, because typically in Steve's bookings, somebody dies. Hopefully nobody dies this time. So
no one is going to die in this one. Well, someone is going to... There is some dark moments, but no one gets killed in this one.
Good. Yeah, so why don't you go through... I guess I'll talk about one thing that would be different. So I guess Goldberg would be unanimously cheered then, right? Because everyone would hate Brock in the match instead of
Goldberg. That is something to address. So I think the first thing to realize is the Brock Goldberg match, just the way it happened was just sheer dumb bad luck.
Yep.
That, if you look back at it, that match was, we can't tell how far back it was really being planned, but it was at least being planned at Survivor Series. Because they had that encounter where they plant the seeds, and then they just, every time they see each other, they take jabs, and then it comes to a head at the Rumble with Brock giving them the F5, and then No Way Out with Goldberg costing them the belt. And then after that, the seeds had obviously been planted long before, and then only after that do we realize, even backstage, if you go back and read or look, Brock and Goldberg didn't tell anyone they were leaving until right after No Way Out.
Yep.
So no one knew, but this timeline is a little different. So we're gonna start where the news leaks in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania 20 that Goldberg and Brock are leaving after WrestleMania. So the build-up, everyone thinks they're leaving, so they're getting kind of irritated. Then obviously the night before WrestleMania is the Hall of Fame ceremony. And Vince decides, okay, I need to sign these guys. We need to keep them. We need their star power. So he comes to Lesnar and Brock. He offers each of them a new contract, 2-year deal, good money. Lesnar declines, says he wants to go play football. Goldberg looks at, in this timeline, he's going to accept the contract.
Yep.
So Goldberg signs, and Vince makes a good effort to make sure this news leaks somehow. So late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, word gets out, Goldberg's not going anywhere. The fans find out about it, but nothing on Brock, so obviously you assume the same, he's leaving.
Yep.
So this timeline, we get to the match, Goldberg's coming out, and he's getting universally cheered. People are happy he's staying. Brock's the one getting crapped on. And other than that, the match is going to go the same way. No different.
Yeah, because Brock probably wouldn't give a crap, so it would probably go the same.
Yeah, so Goldberg ends up winning the match, just the same way he did in real life. Here's where it changes, though. After the match, Goldberg and Stone Cold are in the middle of the ring. Stone Cold's trying to shake his hand and congratulate him, and every time he goes to shake, Goldberg kind of ducks under the hand, goes to a turnbuckle, puts his arms up, he's celebrating, he can't believe he won. And, this goes on for a few minutes, and Stone Cold and the fans are starting to get a little annoyed. It's like, oh, wait, shake his hand. And it finally gets to the point where Stone Cold, grabs him and spins around. He's like, shake my hand. And Goldberg basically is like, man, screw you, I'm leaving. So Stone Cold spins around, attempts the stunner, gets shoved into the ropes, and Goldberg nails him with a spear. So this is kind of not turning him heel, but turning him into a tool.
Yeah, I like it.
So he just speared Stone Cold, so people are like, okay, it gives him a bit of an edge, He's kind of in the middle now. So this timeline, night after WrestleMania, we obviously sowed the seeds for the Benoit versus Triple H versus HBK match at Backlash to happen. But I never really liked that idea. I never thought the idea of rehashing the same match was a good idea because it kind of takes away from the Mania luster a little bit.
Yep.
So this timeline, it's going to be altered because Goldberg's going to come out and say, I just had the biggest win of my career over Brock Lesnar, who everyone considered a beast. I deserve a shot at the title, so I'm inserting myself into the match. So Bischoff makes it official, and he's like, all right, so we're going to have Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Goldberg, and Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship. So ultimately, Goldberg's presence doesn't alter the match all too much because it's in Canada, so it has to end with Michaels tapping out to a sharpshooter from Benoit. So
And they could do something like where they all work. They all work together to like take out Goldberg, since he'd be like the biggest threat in the match and stuff too.
yeah. But ultimately, Benoit ends up retaining. So following Backlash, we have Triple H, HBK, Goldberg, and Kane in another fatal four-way to determine a new number one contender. And Goldberg does end up winning that match after hitting a spear on Triple H and pinning him. So now we're going to start building up from Backlash all the way to the June pay-per-view Bad Blood. So in this timeline, we have Goldberg basically going on a little bit of a tear on Raw, trying to rebuild himself. So he beats Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kane, all these top guys week after week in the build-up. And he's starting to get some serious momentum, whereas, Benoit is kind of facing younger talent who don't get the opportunity, and Goldberg calls him out on it, saying he's taking the easy way out, whereas Benoit calls him out and says, well, you're not giving guys opportunity. And they kind of get into it, saying that was their problem back in WCW, is Benoit had to scratch and claw his way to the top to win the title, whereas Goldberg showed up day one and was pretty much destined for it. And Goldberg's reaction to it is basically, well, why don't you do something about it? So we get to the match at Bad Blood, Chris Benoit versus Goldberg, and it's actually a pretty decent back and forth match. Benoit gets a real good match out of Goldberg. This match goes a lot longer than Goldberg's normal comfort zone. I'd say about like 15 minutes, but he's able to get through it, and he's able to get through it good. So the majority of the match, Goldberg's hitting these power moves, but Benoit's doing the same thing, which is targeting the back, like lower back area. So eventually, Goldberg's going to hit the spear and have Benoit down. He'll have him set up for the jackhammer. He goes to lift him, but by this point, his back is just completely destroyed, so he can't get him up. So he shoves him away, collapses to the ground, so he figures, okay, got to go for a spear if I can't hit the jackhammer. And he can't get up to full speed, which gives Benoit the opportunity to grab his arm, spin him around into the crossface, and ultimately Goldberg, for the first time in his career, taps out. Middle of the ring to the crossface. So Benoit retains, and Goldberg has just lost again, which rarely happens. So after the match, Benoit is celebrating. Goldberg is just sitting in the middle of the ring, kind of stone-faced. Just no emotion. Benoit tries to get him up, shake his hand, and Goldberg's just giving him nothing. So Benoit leaves, and pay-per-view ends with no music. Goldberg is sitting in the ring, gets up, walks out, and that's just it. He's just, there's nothing there.
Well, you got to remember, though, the pay-per-view wouldn't end because I think they would still main event Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Hell in a Cell, so I think that would still be the main event.
Right. But that's how the match ends, basically.
Yeah.
So, following Bad Blood, they're going to give Goldberg a little bit of time off because they don't need him for story reasons, but also to heal any nagging injuries he has. But in storyline, they're going to advertise Goldberg for Monday Night Raw, and, guys will come out ready for the match. Goldberg's music hits, doesn't come out, and then, Lillian Garcia will get a note, and she'll say, ladies and gentlemen, Goldberg has not arrived at the arena tonight, therefore, the opponent wins via forfeit. So Goldberg's scheduled to be showing up to these Raw taping things, but he's just not there. So it seems like he's just kind of no-showing, doesn't care anymore. Every now and again, we see him in the crowd watching Raw, and he's just, in plain street clothes, doesn't look like he cares much. And yeah, that's basically what he's up to. He just looks like he's completely shut down because he feels like he's lost everything. Now, the big thing that is different in this timeline is at the Great American Bash, Eddie Guerrero is going to retain the WWE Championship over JBL. So in this timeline, no screwjob finish where Angle gives JBL the belt. Eddie retains. And then going into SummerSlam, that feud's going to be Eddie Guerrero versus The Undertaker. So, in the build-up to SummerSlam, Goldberg stops showing up to Raw. He's not in the crowd anymore. He's not getting advertised anymore. And then we get to SummerSlam, and the Eddie Undertaker match is going on. It looks like Taker's about to win the match when, out of nowhere, Goldberg jumps the barricade and spears Taker, and then does the same thing to Eddie Guerrero, and he just beats the both of them down. Ultimately, takes Eddie, drags him over to Taker, leaves him there. Ref makes the count. Well, let's say the ref took a bump by this point. He gets up, 1, 2, 3. Eddie retains because Goldberg interfered, and everyone's just very confused because Goldberg's on Raw. So Raw after SummerSlam, Bischoff opens the show by basically coming out and saying, Goldberg called me over the weekend and said, I don't want to be on Raw. Get rid of me or you're going to regret it. And he'll say, I remember what he was like when he was angry in WCW. I didn't want to deal with that, so I gave him right to Teddy Long. His problem, not mine. So that's the explanation for why he's on SmackDown. So he's gone from Raw.
He doesn't want a trade or anything. He'd just rather have him gone because he doesn't want to deal with that.
Yep. He just gets rid of Goldberg. So we go over to SmackDown now for Goldberg's debut. He comes out and he says, after he lost to Benoit, he felt like, that was it. He was all washed up. And then he realized he'd never been on SmackDown and that SmackDown could give him the opportunity he needed. So he's going to go over and he starts branding this the SmackDown streak. He's going to start. So he says he's going to go on an undefeated streak, better than his first one, better than his Raw tenure. This is going to be the new and improved Goldberg, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. So he's a full-blown heel at this point. So he comes out and he says the first thing he wants to do with his streak is he wants to kick it off winning the WWE Championship. Teddy Long comes out and says, okay, tell you what, if you can, hold on a second. So if you can enforce tonight's title match, then he'll reward him with a title match of his own at No Mercy. And Goldberg's like, that's fine. So basically he just has to make sure the rematch between Eddie and Undertaker goes clean this time. No one interferes. So we get to the main event, and basically Eddie and Taker are going at it, and this time around, Eddie has Taker down, but Taker keeps kicking out a frog splash. So Eddie does what Eddie does best. He goes to try and grab the title to use it, but Goldberg's grabbing it from him. But because Eddie wants the belt, he ends up smacking Goldberg with it, and this ticks him off. So he gets in the ring and spears him again and beats them both down. So Teddy comes out and he says, I thought we had a deal, but I guess not. So the only way this match is apparently going to go down is if I just tossed all three of you in it. So at No Mercy, it's going to be Goldberg, The Undertaker, and Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship. So they're building up to this big match at No Mercy going on. And Goldberg basically shows up the next week and says, I'm not starting my streak until No Mercy. I already told you that. And Teddy's like, well, that's not how it works here. This isn't Raw. Here on SmackDown, we compete every week. So your debut match is going to be tonight, whether you like it or not. And if you do not compete in every single match I schedule you for leading up to No Mercy, I'm going to take your title opportunity away from you. So Goldberg has to comply. So he goes out week after week, and he's facing, Saturday Night Velocity talent. He squashes them. And these aren't like the typical 1 to 2 minute Goldberg squashes. These are more like 5 minute, slower, methodical, beat-down Goldberg matches where he's trying to inflict pain so he can kind of send a message to Teddy Long like, you did this. So this all leads up to the Go Home SmackDown. This is where things take a very interesting turn. So we get to the Go Home SmackDown, and Goldberg asks Teddy, I don't have a match scheduled for tonight. Am I good until No Mercy? Tay says, actually, I have a surprise opponent for you tonight. And not only that, I have another surprise for you. Eddie Guerrero is going to be on commentary for the match. And Goldberg's like, all right, no problem. I don't care who it is. Just don't screw me over with some random opponent that I can't handle before No Mercy. I don't want to tire myself out, basically. So he gets down to the ring. Goldberg's waiting. Eddie's waiting. Gong rings. His mystery opponent right before No Mercy is a one-on-one match with The Undertaker. And Goldberg's not having any of it. And if you didn't catch it, I did slip in a one-on-one with The Undertaker. But, so Goldberg's not having any of it. So he does the only thing he knows best, which is he attacks Taker before the match happens and ends up spearing him through the barricade, just beating him down. And it gets to the point where they say Taker can't compete. So Goldberg says, well, no match tonight. So Teddy comes out. He goes, hey, good job. You just got your own match canceled, which means you didn't compete in every match. I said you had to get your title shot. So now this Sunday, it's going to be a one-on-one between Eddie and The Undertaker. And you're going to be banned from ringside. So Goldberg at first is mad. Then he looks back at Teddy Long and he's just smiling at him. He goes, okay, you did this. So he runs over to Eddie, takes him down, throws him over into the crowd, so he's out, goes back to Taker, and just beats down The Undertaker like crazy. Hitting him with chair shots, spearing him, ends up grabbing the steel steps and hitting a jackhammer off the steps through the announce table. So Taker is just down and out. He's not moving. And it gets to the point where Teddy Long is sending the security guys down, the roster down. And Goldberg is just one by one taking everybody out. No one can stop him. So it gets to the point where the police show up and they all get tasers on Goldberg. So I'm seeing like 4 officers come down to ringside and they all have their tasers on them, ready to shoot. They're saying, stop, stop. So Goldberg finally puts his hands up. They arrest Goldberg on live TV. And they're walking him up the entranceway, and he's just smiling at Teddy Long. So Teddy runs down to try and check on Taker and Eddie. Eddie's fine. Taker's down. Taker's not getting up.
So I noticed a few things. One, you just love having The Undertaker get his ass kicked anytime you book something.
it all works out in the end. Don't worry.
And then I do got a question. Also, I noticed another thing. I don't know if this was what you had in mind, but you realize, like, this kind of goes along full story because if you remember in his first streak, it was a taser that ended his first streak, so it makes sense that they would need tasers to bring down with them anyways and stuff.
I was going to say, that's the point. He sees the tasers, he's like, yep, I know not to screw with those.
Also, another thing, though, are they going to... Because what was SmackDown on at this time? Like, what station?
This was 2004, so I think they were still on UPS.
Because you do got to be careful sometimes with the networks. I don't know if network would like to see people getting tased and stuff like that. You got to be careful about that type of stuff.
I mean, to be fair, for what they did get canceled for, they had to push the bar pretty far. This one, I think they could get away with because all you got to do is warn them ahead of time.
Yep.
So just say they warn them ahead of time, hey, they're going to be tasers, but no one's getting tased.
Yep.
They're pointing.
What do they get canceled for in real life?
Yeah, fun. The Muhammad Hassan angle where he prayed and the dudes came out and beat up The Undertaker.
Right. So, yeah.
Well, they didn't get canceled for that, but Hassan got done away with and they didn't re-sign the contract when it expired.
Yep.
But quick side note, at Starrcade 98, Goldberg actually wanted them to shoot him. He actually wanted Scott Hall to come out and shoot him with a legit taser. To take him down because he figured that would be the only way to legitimately make him go down.
Yep.
And Bischoff was like, are you insane?
So you could see why Bischoff wanted to, in storyline, you could see why Bischoff wanted to get rid of him on Raw.
Yeah. So, back to the storyline. Taker's out. Eddie's fine, but he's shaken because, like, he feels bad for Undertaker. He just saw him get the holy hell kicked out of him. Teddy's scrambling to figure out what to do now, and Goldberg's in jail. So early Saturday morning, WWE.com releases a report. Goldberg is being held without bail, and they'll have more details when they're available. But for the meantime, Goldberg is in jail. He's a criminal. Yep. So we get to No Mercy, and it starts out with Teddy Long pacing his office. He's panicking. He doesn't know what to do because Undertaker can't make it. He's medically not cleared. So he goes to the one person who he knows can help him. He goes to Vince. And Vince basically shows up and says, you want my help? Okay. If you don't get someone to replace The Undertaker, I think you know what happens to you. Don't you, Teddy? So now Teddy's running around all night asking people if they want a WWE title match. And he's thinking this will be easy. But to his surprise, they're all saying no because they're afraid of what Goldberg will do to him when he comes back. So no one wants to face Eddie for the championship. And Eddie's getting to the point where he's not even sure he wants to be the champion anymore. But Chavo and Ray are there for him. They're like, no, man, come on, you want it. You want to hold this belt.
Wasn't Chavo a heel though?
He was a heel though, but the thing is, at this point, they're kind of bending the fourth wall a little bit because they're trying to make Eddie legitimately seem like he's out of it. So come time for the main event, Eddie goes down to the ring. He looks like he's in good shape, and he's waiting for his opponent. Teddy Long comes out and he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. I just couldn't find a suitable opponent for Eddie to compete against tonight, so there will be no title match. Out comes Vince, and he goes, well, Teddy, we had a deal. You know what happens. You're in luck. You see, Teddy, you're new at your job, so I'm going to throw you a bone this one time. I like you, Teddy. I'm going to help you out. You see, I'm a very rich and powerful man, Teddy. And rich and powerful men tend to have these connections. And those connections sometimes extend all the way to the long arm of the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the man who will be competing against Eddie Guerrero. All of a sudden, a police convoy starts backing into the arena, and out comes Goldberg from the back of the convoy, still in handcuffs. So they uncuff him, his music's blaring, and Eddie is just petrified in the ring. Like, he's like blank staring Goldberg down. Like, he cannot believe he's here after getting arrested after what he did to Taker 2 days earlier.
Before you talk about the match, I would be very careful of how Vince words that promo you talked about, because then that's probably going to open up the Superfly Jimmy Snuka case, because a lot of people talk about that's what he did to get Snuka off. So I would be very careful, because that's probably going to...
Yeah, for sure, but at the same time, Vince is always willing to push the edge to make himself the bad guy.
Yep.
So for storyline purposes, we'll say that's what he does.
Yep.
So, and like I said, Goldberg's coming out still in cuffs, and they're trying to uncuff him for him, and they can't do it to the point where he just goes, whatever, breaks the cuffs. So he just gets in the ring, and it's a squash match, like old school WCW style. I don't see it going past 50 seconds. Goldberg beats Eddie and becomes the new WWE champion because Eddie wasn't prepared for it, wasn't expecting it. So now we get to the SmackDown afterwards, and Goldberg's talking about he told everyone this was going to happen. He told them he was going to win the championship no matter what. And he makes a joke like, not even handcuffs could hold me back. Not even a taser could hold me back. I'm the champion now, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. So Teddy Long comes out, and he's like, you're the champ, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to be an absolute hell for you here on SmackDown after what you did last week. So he tries putting Goldberg in all these, unfair matches, handicap matches, and whatnot, and it doesn't do anything. Goldberg's just squashing everybody on the roster, and every week, instead of saying, who's next, he says, where's Eddie? So he's kind of wondering, when's Eddie gonna invoke his rematch clause? And every week, Eddie's kind of what Goldberg was back in June and July when he was just doing the blank stare, I don't care anymore face. He's just too scared to face Goldberg because he doesn't think he can beat him anymore. He has no motivation to put himself in harm's way. So Goldberg comes out and he says, I guess he's not challenging me. That just proves it right there. There isn't a single man alive that can beat me. Out comes The Undertaker, coming back for revenge. So they're going to build up the match, Undertaker versus Goldberg, in a street fight at Survivor Series. So this is a fully prepared and rejuvenated Undertaker versus Goldberg. And they just go at it. They throw everything. They fight all the way around the arena. As good as Taker is, it's ultimately not enough. So Goldberg ends up retaining over him. It's a good match, but Undertaker's beaten. So now, who's next? Who's going to stop him? So now, moving away from Survivor Series, Eddie's still kind of in this state of shock. And now Taker's trying to convince him, you got to snap out of it. And he's just not doing it. So Taker and Goldberg continue to have a little bit of a feud afterwards, but it's not leading up to another title match. Ultimately, Rey Mysterio stepped up to the plate now. He talks about how back in WCW, Bill was always a bully and that he's going to get his now. So they start building up the Rey Mysterio Goldberg feud for the end of the year. So, final SmackDown of 2004 sees Goldberg defending the championship against Rey Mysterio in the main event of SmackDown. And although Rey tries his best, it ultimately turns into a squash match. He starts beating him down, and ultimately Goldberg retains, and he tries to keep beating him down after the match. Enter Eddie Guerrero. He finally snaps out of it. He's coming to the aid of his friend. So he's coming to save him. And this is where we see Eddie really get that Latino heat fire back. He beats him down with a chair, rips Goldberg off, and he says, this year may end with you as champion, but at the Royal Rumble, I'm taking my title back. So now we build up to the Royal Rumble where it's Eddie Guerrero challenging Goldberg for the title. This time around, Eddie's going to put up a real good fight. He's going to try the lie, cheat, and steal tactic. Ultimately doesn't pay off, and Goldberg does end up retaining over Eddie, continuing the SmackDown streak. So now we're going into No Way Out, and Goldberg's going to need a new challenger. We're going to insert JBL into the title picture. So his whole thing is he's going to try to more or less buy the title off of Goldberg, saying, everyone's kind of viewing you in a bad light because of the things you've done. Why don't you give me the belt, and that'll make everything better. So even though it's a heel versus heel feud, people kind of favor Goldberg in this one because JBL is just such a scumbag.
Yep.
So that match is just kind of a throwaway feud to build up to WrestleMania. Goldberg obviously beats JBL. But the other thing that happens is we're going to have a new #1 contender match for WrestleMania's title match. And it's going to be a year earlier than it happened in real life. Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker.
What?
Yep. Or was it? Yeah, because that happened in 2006 at No Way Out.
Yeah, but Goldberg's ain't Goldberg the champ though?
So Goldberg is the champ, but in this timeline, it's not a title match, it's a contender match.
Gotcha. So it's Kurt versus,
and it's pretty much the same match.
yeah.
Good match, good 5-star. Kurt ends up retaining, or not retaining, obviously, in this timeline, but he ends up winning the match. So now we're going into WrestleMania 21, where it's going to be Kurt Angle versus Goldberg, first time ever. And, they're both just building up to this match as, they're both warriors. And Goldberg is really embracing his heel persona, whereas Kurt Angle starts to shift back toward being more of a face, kind of in like a tweener way, though, He's still willing to do what he needs to do to win. But he can't stand Goldberg because he thinks he's a scumbag for everything he's done since he came to SmackDown. So we get to the match at Mania, and kind of like Benoit, this is going to be a match that goes out of Goldberg's time comfort zone, but Angle is able to get a good match out of Goldberg. We'll see a lot of good spots. You can see a spot where, he goes for a spear and Angle will jump it and hit him with an Olympic slam. Obviously, you can work on an ankle lock on Goldberg, killing off his momentum to hit a spear. But in the end, final spot of the match actually happening is Angle makes the mistake of deciding, I'm going to go for the moonsault. Goldberg gets up, goes up to the top rope, and hits a top rope jackhammer to end the match. The belt over Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. So now, so obviously the big thing this changes from the real timeline is Cena's push. If you're wondering where he's at in this timeline, he's still U.S. champion. They're going to give him more time with that belt to really fully develop and really, because they were pretty early on with his push. Like, they didn't need to do it as early as they did, but they could have put it off longer, so they're going to put it off longer in this timeline. But he gets his push down the line.
No Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle either.
No Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, but nevertheless, Kurt Angle still gets a good match.
Yeah.
People give him all the credit in the world for getting a good match out of Goldberg.
So then what happens to Shawn in this timeline? Did you know?
For Shawn, I really didn't have much of a plan for him in this timeline, but if I had to guess, I would say put him in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah.
Because Shawn and ladders always go good together. So, exiting from WrestleMania, we have Goldberg still as champion, and he says, he's beaten the best of the best, and then, one by one, you have Eddie, Kurt, JBL, and Taker all coming out saying, yes, you've all beaten us, but you've only beaten us for that title like really one or two times, and they're all basically saying, we deserve another shot. And he's like, okay, who deserves the shot the most, though? So he puts them in a fatal four-way match to determine who's going to be his challenger at Judgment Day. Ultimately, Goldberg makes a run-in during the match and takes everyone out. So Teddy comes out and says, all right, if that's how you're going to play it, then at Judgment Day, we're going to have a five-way dance for the WWE Championship. Eddie, Kurt, JBL, Taker, and Goldberg. So you have a lot of star power in this one match. And Goldberg agrees to the match, but he makes a stipulation. He says he's tired of facing the same people over and over again. So he says if he beats them, they don't get another shot at his title as long as he's champion, period. And ultimately, Taylor Long's like, fine, no problem. The guys don't have any issue with that. We get to Judgment Day. It's a good match, and Goldberg plays the old let everyone else beat the crap out of each other card while he's waiting for his opportunity to strike. He does, and he ends up retaining the championship. So in this timeline, he's still the champion post-WrestleMania 21. He's just gone over the top stars of SmackDown. So now we get into the draft. So at this point in the timeline, in the real life, John Cena and Batista swapped brands, as did the titles. In this timeline, John Cena is still going over to Raw, but so is Goldberg with the WWE Championship, and Batista is coming over to SmackDown. So now the WWE Champion Goldberg is on Raw, and he makes his debut during Jericho's talk show, the highlight reel. I don't know why I forgot that for a second. He makes his debut during the highlight reel. And, Goldberg and Jericho are less than enthusiastic to see each other again. So they reignite their old feud. So his first title match on Raw at Vengeance is him versus Jericho. And as you could have guessed, Goldberg is going to retain over Jericho at Vengeance. So now we're going to be building up into SummerSlam, where they're going to have a 10-man over-the-top rope battle royal to determine who the new number one contender is. And ultimately, Triple H is going to come out on top. So it's going to be Goldberg versus Triple H at SummerSlam, one-on-one. Except in this timeline, Triple H doesn't have any backup. It's a real one-on-one scenario. So in the build-up, kind of like what he pulled in May at Judgment Day, Goldberg says, I want a stipulation if I'm going to be facing you again. I know how you like to hang around at the top until you get your way. Well, now that I'm in charge, because it's obviously still a heel versus heel saga, but this timeline, Goldberg's kind of going to be the more face of the two, or at least tweener. So he says, if I beat you, you don't get another title shot as long as I'm champion. And Triple H gets goaded into it. He's like, you know what, I can beat you, no problem. So we have the match at SummerSlam, and even with the power of the sledgehammer and the golden shovel, Triple H does not overcome Goldberg, and Goldberg beats him.
How good the match? Because would there be backstage heat, or would that be over?
The backstage heat would pretty much be over. At this point, they'd be more professional, but they would work with that idea of they don't like each other in real life by having Hunter hit him with the sledgehammer, and really bust him open bad. People are like, oh man, you really cut him deep, but in reality, Goldberg just does a good blade job. So going away from this feud, we're going into Unforgiven, where now Goldberg's going to come out and say, he wants fresh meat. But he's not getting exactly the definition of fresh meat because Ric Flair's coming out now. And he's saying that even though him and Hunter have their issues, he still considers Triple H a friend, and he's not going to let him get away with what he did to him at SummerSlam. And Goldberg's response is basically, I thought you died after WCW went under. So they start building up to a match at Unforgiven, and everyone's telling Rick, like, don't do this. You don't have a chance against him. You're too old. And Rick's basically saying, I can beat him. I know I can. So we get to the match of Unforgiven, and Goldberg, just being a cocky heel, walked up and he goes, you know what, tell you what, you get the first shot. And Flair being Flair, he goes right for the grapefruit claw. And he actually puts on a good, I'd say 10-minute performance of Flair fighting back constantly. And it actually takes a few spears before hitting the jackhammer to keep Ric Flair down for Goldberg to go over. So Flair looks strong in this performance, and Goldberg just looks like that much more of a jerk. So now we build up to Survivor Series, and, we have Goldberg saying, he's beaten Triple H, he's beaten Ric Flair, he's beaten Jericho. There's no one left on Raw that he really thinks is a viable challenger, so he doesn't know what to do with himself. Enter Shawn Michaels back into the picture. So we get Shawn Michaels to come out now, and, he's talking about how he thinks he can beat Goldberg, and kind of rehashes what Flair said, Triple H and him have problems, Ric Flair and him have had problems, but he considers those two, one of them a friend and one of them an idol of his, so he's going to get revenge for them at Survivor Series. So kind of sticking with that storyline of Goldberg keeps, sowing the seeds for his own feuds, basically. So we get to Survivor Series, Goldberg versus Shawn Michaels. They put on a pretty good match, but, Goldberg still goes over. No surprise there. After the match, he starts beating him down. He's saying, no one can beat him. There's no one left. And then we go to Raw the next night, and we're having the build-up to Armageddon, and he says, okay, I mean it this time. I want someone I've never faced before to challenge for the title. So they hold a 6-man of a bunch of fresh superstars that he's never fought before, kind of up-and-comers, seeing who's going to get that shot at Armageddon. Ultimately, we're going to give Shelton Benjamin the rub here. Shelton Benjamin goes over, and we build to Shelton Benjamin versus Goldberg. Goldberg's like, okay, I can take this kid seriously. And, everyone's kind of treating Benjamin the same way they treated Flair, like, you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to feud against Goldberg? He's like, yes, I know I want to do it. And it even gets to the point where on the go-home Raw, Benjamin nails him with the T-bone suplex after, we'll say, Goldberg gets beat down by all the young rookies for calling him out for weeks. And he pins him, and he gets a 1, 2, 3, but it's not official. There's no ref. He's just doing it to show he can do it. So now everyone's like, oh my God, Benjamin has a shot. But he just pissed off Goldberg. So unfortunately at Armageddon, Goldberg is, unfortunately, in terms of realism, going to squash him in less than a minute or two. So now we're going into New Year's Revolution, and, he's feeling on top of the world, and he brands himself the monster of WWE. Big mistake. Kane comes out. So Kane's feuding with him now up into New Year's Revolution, saying, they never got a chance to finish what they started in 2003. Let's finish it in 2006. Goldberg's like, all right, no problem there. So Kane versus Goldberg is kind of just a throwaway feud to build up to the Rumble. Goldberg is going to go over Kane. So by this point, he'll have been champion for well over a year now.
Yeah.
Goldberg. So he's brought a lot of prestige to the belt by being the one guy to hang on to it. So now we're going into the Royal Rumble, and in this timeline, Edge is not going to do a surprise cash-in. This timeline, Edge is going to announce the cash-in ahead of time for the Rumble, saying that his spear is better than Goldberg's, and at the Rumble, he's going to prove it. Now, I questioned myself on this one a bit, but I figured, you know what? Give it 2 years. Edge gets the Money in the Bank briefcase from Mr. Kennedy anyway and surprises us with the cash-in, so he'll still be the innovator of it because Rob Van Dam announced his.
Yep.
So in this timeline, Edge, and I think, that'd be a surprise if you do it a few years into the Money in the Bank run. And
I do question, though, if you're undercutting Edge a little bit, too, though, because and the Money in the Bank, because it's the first one, so should the first guy that has the Money in the Bank succeed, because if you have them fail, then it kind of buries the gimmick a little bit. But there's a story going on here, so I guess something's got to get sacrificed.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, Royal Rumble, we have Spear versus Spear, Goldberg versus Edge. And Edge gets a really good match out of him because this is that period of time where Ed was still in his, crazy gimmick, pretty much.
Yep.
So we see a ref bump in this match, and it pretty much turns to a full-blown hardcore match while the ref is down. But ultimately, that backfires on Edge when Lita tries to slip him brass knucks, and he goes for a punch, but doesn't see that Goldberg was setting him up for a spear the whole time, and then hits him with the jackhammer, gets the pin. So now we're moving away from the Rumble, and at this point, Goldberg is pretty much just decimated all the credible guys over on SmackDown, all the credible guys over on Raw. And the winner of the Rumble in this timeline is still Rey Mysterio, and he's still going to stick on SmackDown. So they need to figure out who's going to face Goldberg. In this timeline, there was a Saturday night main event before WrestleMania. We're going to push that back earlier than it happened in real life, so we have a chance to build up, because they announced the main event for that is going to be the culmination of a number one contenders tournament, and they'll have all the Raw superstars compete in it. And ultimately, it comes down to the final two: Triple H, John Cena. So in this timeline, John Cena will have lost the U.S. Championship by now.
Yep.
So we're getting Cena versus Triple H a couple weeks earlier than it would have happened in real life, and in a timeline where Cena still hasn't gotten that mega push yet, so people are still high. So people are really hoping Cena goes over in this match.
I also noticed too, you did the number one contenders tournament like they did kind of in real life, because if you remember, Triple H won the number one contenders tournament to earn the right to face Cena to begin with.
Yep. But in this timeline, Cena goes over Triple H at Saturday night's main events. So Cena's going to WrestleMania to face Goldberg for the WWE Championship. And Goldberg's whole build-up to the match isn't, the typical "who are you?" It's basically, "No, I know who you are. I've been watching you for a long time, Cena. I know that you're actually a credible threat. So I just want to let you know from the bottom of my heart, the good news is I'm taking you seriously. Now for the bad news. I'm taking you seriously. I'm Goldberg, and I'm going to treat you like a credible opponent." And Cena's not backing down. He's, showing the typical, stare the beast in the eye attitude. So we get to the match at Mania, and it's just a full-blown, power move slobber knocker. They're just throwing everything they have at each other. I'd say Cena eats 2 spears before finally getting the jackhammer. Goldberg goes for the pin. 1, 2. Cena kicks out. So, but in this point in the timeline, he's the first person to kick out of the jackhammer in pretty much since WrestleMania, before WrestleMania 20. I don't even know if many people kicked out of it during his initial run in 2003. I don't think so. I think pretty much the only times he lost was because he couldn't hit the jackhammer. So Cena kicks out of it, and he's just stunned. Like, Goldberg is kind of back in that trance of, what do I do now? So he figures, okay, I'll go for a spear. So goes over to the corner to go for a spear, and, Cena's not getting up. Cena's just playing possum. Ref goes to check on him. Goldberg looks in the corner and sees that, Cena still has his chain. So he goes and grabs his chain, puts it around his wrist like he's going to punch Cena. And the ref goes over to him to, tell him to knock it off. And we see Cena slip out of his trunks the old Word Life knucks from WrestleMania 20. Kind of ironic, because this is where that storyline started. And then he shoves the ref out of the way. And ref's not look. And he shoves the ref out of the way. Ref's down. He's not looking. He goes over to hit him, and Cena just low blows him with the knucks. And Goldberg is down for the count. So this moment, Cena gets rid of the knucks, he gets rid of the chain, he brushes everything, and the ref goes to call for the bell. Cena stops him, and he goes, "No, you don't finish this. I do. He deserves this." And the ref's like, "Yeah, Kim, I'm not calling for the bell." Because at this point, everyone's just sick of Goldberg's crap, because he's been such a bully for the past year and a half. So we see Cena go to the corner now, and Goldberg's getting up. And he just goes, "This one's for Stone Cold." Flips him the bird. Cena hits him with a spear. And then puts his hand up, 5-knuckle shuffle. Gets him up, puts him down. And he finally hits the FU on Goldberg. 1, 2, 3. Cena wins the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 2. So after that, timeline kind of returns to normal, except Cena doesn't have as much heat on him as he did in real life from the fans.
Yep.
He'll be generally liked in this timeline post 22.
Except at One Night Stand. That's probably the only time he won't be.
Yeah. Won't be as bad, but it'll still be pretty bad.
Yeah.
There'll be a small part you can hear this time.
Yep.
Or maybe even they build Cena up as an extreme contender and people don't totally hate him this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
But basically after this, Goldberg's 2-year contract is up. They ask him, do you want to resign? And he ultimately decides, no, I want to pursue other ventures. He can go film Santa's Slay and meet his wife. We'll give him a happy ending. We'll say he still meets his wife in this timeline filming Santa's Slay.
So Santa's Slay would just have to come out later, right? Because when it's
a year later, yep. So in this timeline, Goldberg rides off into the sunset after a really good 1.5 year long WWE Championship reign, ending with him putting over the new biggest star in the company. And that's just it for him. He disappears until 2017, obviously, when Brock Lesnar calls him out and tells him to come out of retirement, and he does.
Yeah.
Or 2016, rather. So, yeah, and that's basically the whole timeline of what would have happened if Goldberg didn't leave in 2004. Overall, I think there was the biggest missed opportunity in that whole timeline for me was the opportunity to turn Goldberg into a proper heel.
Absolutely.
Because they never did it in WCW. They tried, but putting him with Russo was poison to him, basically.
Yep.
I think building on that streak and just making him an unstoppable monster would have been a great idea. You could have had him. I think putting him over on SmackDown was another big missed opportunity to have him feud with guys like Taker, Kurt, Eddie.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll kind of go. Yeah, so I like, obviously I like the new edge that he gets as a heel and stuff. He does put people over too. He puts over Chris Benoit huge.
Yep.
Puts over Cena huge. The good news about it is since you have like a proper heel now on SmackDown, JBL doesn't have to get the belt, which I know a lot of people weren't fans of. So
yeah.
And then
I think the one thing that's kind of questionable, I understand, is the whole Edge not doing the surprise cash-in thing, which I understand. But later on in the year, Rob Van Dam does successfully cash in. And then the year after that, Edge could debut the surprise cash-in concept, which I'm thinking, if you do that a few years into the Money in the Bank run, when people think it's already established, that surprises them more.
And then a lot of people get you get like a Shelton Benjamin new start out of it. We get Goldberg versus Undertaker too, where we don't have to worry about like people's health in the match, which is good.
Yes. We get Goldberg Undertaker where the heat doesn't get to him.
And maybe since the only thing that this is kind of like a butterfly effect, then since like he doesn't meet his wife till a year later, his kid won't be born. Will be born like a year later. So wondering what his kid's attitude would be, because that's the butterfly effect. Would his kid be the same? Would his kid have the same personalities as he does now? So
I would assume probably about the same, because the only reason he really came back, like he says, because he wanted his kid to see him wrestle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in this timeline he definitely not much. Ultimately, this storyline doesn't change 2017 or 2016 at all, pretty much, for Goldberg.
I would change, obviously, make sure he doesn't get the Universal title still, just because keep that on Kevin Owens and have him face Jericho.
If I could change that timeline, I definitely. I was okay with him squashing Brock at Survivor Series. That was nice. That was just a good time to see Brock get his ass kicked for once. And I was okay with the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And at No Way Out, Elimination Chamber. All right, let's just say No Way Out was a much better pay-per-view name, Elimination Chamber. But no,
it was actually
Fastlane. I would have had, instead of Jericho doing a run-in, I would have had Lesnar do the run-in and just F5 Goldberg right before the bell hit, and then Owens just like, okay, I win.
Yep.
That way you give Jericho and Owens the Universal title match instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can still have Goldberg versus Lesnar.
And the best part of your storyline is nobody. I don't think anybody died this time. Hopefully, so
Nobody done this time. The darkest it got was definitely the SmackDown arrest angle.
yep.
But
Because it's 2006, so the Chris Ben. Well, actually, technically, someone did die. Eddie still died in this timeline. So but that wasn't anything you did though. So
yeah, unfortunately, in this timeline, there's really not much I can do to
yeah,
prevent Ed passing. The
I don't
only
think-
time I can really write for getting rid of that is strictly a what if he didn't pass timeline.
yeah,
I've considered doing that a few times, and every time I do, I'm like, realistically, he'd still have some kind of health defect he needs to go away for.
yeah. I know Paulina Productions did like a timeline like that, and that was pretty good. So we'll have to wait and see what happened.
Yeah. I do have the next what if scenario for the next time we do this though already written out.
What is it?
It is a question not a lot of people ask themselves because they have mixed opinions on this guy. I personally think it's someone who, if utilized better, could have been a long-term star for WWE and WCW during the Monday Night Wars. And that question is, what if Psycho Sid never broke his leg?
That'd be an interesting one.
And I think people don't realize, he was huge 95, 96 in WWF.
Yep.
And if he didn't break his leg and he was still in good health, he probably would have been there either before or after the invasion.
Yep.
And probably would have gotten a good push out of it too.
Yeah, well, that could be a fun one to do. Yeah.
Yep, that's one I have written out. Plenty of other ones I have an idea to write. I think the hardest one I've considered doing is a timeline of what if WCW didn't get bought out.
Yep.
Because you pretty much have to write two storylines for that one.
Yep.
WCW and WWF.
Absolutely. So you're saying, what do you mean? What if it didn't, would they, is this, both of them are still intact, or is this WCW bought out Monday Night Raw? Or WWE?
This would be what if, I'm not sure if you know about that whole timeline of when they were going out of business, but
yeah, wasn't Eric Bischoff going to try to buy, and he tried to get investors?
It wasn't just an idea. He did it. He had everything lined up, and everyone had said yes, and then the network just goes, we quit.
Yep.
That's pretty much the Cliff Notes version of what happened.
Yep.
He was all ready to make a purchase, and they dropped on him. And the big question is, I didn't know this, they had a pay-per-view scheduled that was going to relaunch WCW, Big Bang.
I think I know about that, yeah. I think I saw What Culture did like a video on it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so and I think the big thing, if WCW didn't go out of business, it has nothing to do with WWF or WCW. It narrows down to this. Jeff Jarrett worked for WCW, so what company doesn't get created? TNA.
Yep.
And AJ was already in WCW at the time, so, does he get a push in WCW?
It's a good question. Also, would Cody Rhodes end up in WCW? And if WCW had stayed good throughout the rest of that time, would there be an AEW right now? Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I think just the saddest timelines I hear is, what if WWE just treated Cody a little better?
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, well, the short answer is they'd have a lot less of a headache right now.
Yep. Well, what if Tony Khan didn't start up AEW?
Yeah, I didn't know this. Right before Cody, here's the thing: it wasn't like Cody gave up and was just like, I'm just gonna quit until I'm done and leave. He not only was he sick, we all know he was sick of the Stardust character. He had filmed his own promos on his own time for a new character, gave them to WWE, and they didn't use it.
Yep.
and they're on YouTube. They can find them somewhere. Basically, he wanted to make himself kind of like Tony Stark.
Yep.
And I think he was gonna call like his new stable Rhodes Industries, kind of like Stark Industries.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, that kind of sticks with the superhero gimmick of Stardust a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not all the goofiness.
I also heard he wanted to like do Stardust on one when the brand flip was going to happen. He wanted to do Stardust like on one brand and Cody Rhodes on the other brand.
Yeah. Although I don't know if he wanted to do that or if he was bargaining with them to just let him do something he wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know what the crazy part of me thinks that Cody Rhodes would still come back to WWE one day.
Maybe for like a Hall of Fame induction, or when his contract. I think like maybe Kenny Omega will someday too.
Yeah,
because he said he was interested in working with WWE. I don't think the Young Bucks. I'm not sure about though, just because the tag division needs to get stronger in WWE.
Yeah, for sure.
But so before we end it off, what other what ifs you got right now? So you got the Psycho Sid one, you got the Monday Night, the WCW one. What other ones you got in mind you want to do, so you can kind of give the fans something to look forward to?
Look forward to. Well, I'm sure you know when people hear the idea of Goldberg, they think Brock Lesnar. I do have an idea of what would happen if Brock Lesnar didn't leave.
So basically, we're gonna get would this be too Goldberg? So basically, the reverse then would happen. Brock would get the higher.
He would take the deal, and Goldberg would leave.
Yeah.
In that timeline, I think the biggest change I make ultimately is 2006. Obviously, Heyman drafted RVD and Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
One thing I've written down for that as a sneak preview is Heyman drafts Lesnar.
Yep.
And RVD. So he takes Lesnar to ECW.
Ah.
He builds him up as this new extreme Brock Lesnar, basically. So it's kind of like Bobby Lashley, except people fans like it.
Yeah, fans would. Well, they hate it, but they'd hate it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I feel like Brock Lesnar, since he already had a lot of himself established, would have been huge in ECW in 2006.
Well, that changes a lot of Cena. Cena probably isn't the top guy too, because because that was why Cena got pushed as the face, because Lesnar left.
Yeah. Cena and Batista really only got pushed because all the big talents left. Brock, Goldberg. I think the funny thing is Cena and Batista were not the first picks. Randy Orton was. Every time he got close, he did something stupid.
Any other what ifs?
At the moment, not really too many.
Well, I definitely think you made it realistic. We got, like we said, we got a monster title one out of Goldberg, and when he finally loses, it means something.
Yeah. No one died.
Huh?
No one died.
No one died except Eddie, but that was out of your control.
That was out of my control.
What else? Undertaker, you still beat the crap out of the Undertaker. I think you hate the Undertaker.
I think one more what if scenario I had is what if Dean Ambrose stayed in 2019?
Yep. I think Paulina Productions made that video too, actually.
Did it?
Yeah, he made that video. It wasn't bad, but I feel like you might be able to do better.
I might be able to outdo him. We'll see.
Maybe you should watch that video so you don't do anything he does, so that way he doesn't look like you're whipping him off.
Yeah, no, that was the problem with the Lesnar one. Is when I was writing down ideas for it, I watched his video back and I'm like, oh man, we're like right on the same track. But I go online, I read a lot of people's stuff that was written like back in like 2009, 2007, and they're all saying the same thing. Oh yeah, he would have put Ray over at 22.
Yep.
So I mean, I honestly might change that storyline to more of a, you know what, just go watch that. That's part one. I'm doing part two.
Yep. So that's pretty much it. We basically did this video. Look at this. I thought we had pretty damn good chemistry for us doing a video.
Yeah, we did good. Just remember, if anyone wants the title, then come take it from me.
The title that you said you were going to continuously... That's not the title you said you were going to bring in, right? Like, there was no...
Oh, I know. I still have... I was saying the WCW one I can go get if I need it.
Your neighbor was supposed to come in and take it, and he never showed up. So...
He never showed up. Yeah. So I guess that was the forfeit.
Yup. No, but yeah, I don't know if you have any plugs or anything like that, but where can people find you?
Usually in a back alley, passed out. Oh wait, you mean online? No, I'm kidding. I don't really have too many plugs. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. I usually just post pictures of my running workouts.
Yup.
Me and Machine Coakley. I tell everyone this all the time. Watch WYW, support James.
Yep.
You know, he's always putting out good work. I've actually considered in the past, what if WYW were real?
Oh, that would be... We would have to have James on for that one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have to ask him. He has to be the whole heart and soul of that. I could start it, but I think I would have to let James take over.
Absolutely.
I mean, if only we were a little rich. If only we were all a little richer, I'd give him a little bit of funds to start WYW because I feel like that could be a good moneymaker around here. But who knows?
If you watch that show, though, if WYW were real, there'd be like a ton of injured. Everyone on that roster would get injured. Like,
well, if it were real, a lot of stuff wouldn't be happening. Like that's the thing. I just go episode by episode, be like, oh, if it were real, well, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that stays.
Yeah, it'd be like that It'd be like that Home Alone video where you look at like the injuries that would happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Hopefully soon, once the pandemic slows down, independent wrestling picks back up again around the New England area.
Oh yeah, I'd like to go to some shows again.
Always a good competitive time. We're supposed to get one in Rockland at the stadium outside for the summer.
Oh, that's one thing we didn't talk about off camera. We didn't get we got screwed out of SummerSlam this year or last year. Like,
well, if the WrestleMania tracker goes to show anything within the next 3 years, we'll probably get it.
Yep. I really hope so.
Yep, that and I would like to hope that AEW follows suit and brings a pay-per-view here at some point.
Yep.
I could see AEW going to the Garden for like Revolution here, maybe.
Oh, it's supposed to go to an AEW show too. AEW was coming back.
I remember that. Yep. I was at the Academy at the time, so when that one got the boot, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just a lot of stuff that got booed, but you know what? It seems like a lot of these companies are planning on going to the same locations they intended on, just later.
Yeah. I have to make sure that ticket didn't get thrown out.
Yeah. And I've considered a few times doing a what if COVID didn't hit, where WWE and AEW be at right now, but that one's hard. That one's very hard to figure out.
That would be like 50 votes. Because you have to look at because also you have to look at ROH, you got to look at NWA, I think is would be, the Speak Out Wrestling movement probably wouldn't have happened.
Well, it's tough because it's one of two things. It's either not much different, a lot of plans that were in place probably still went through, or maybe, everything got tossed out and it really started from scratch and, it's completely different.
I can tell you one thing that would have been different.
Roman and Goldberg.
Yeah, Roman probably wouldn't have turned heel.
I think it would have turned heel still, eventually.
Maybe. I hope. What can I tell you? One thing that definitely wouldn't. Well, Impact.
Actually,
I don't think Impact would have. In a sense, it kind of helped Impact that the pandemic happened because they got a lot of the talent WWE fired.
Yeah. Well, that was coming anyway.
Yeah, but I'm saying, look at all the people. Look at all the people they fired. That Impact benefit from.
Yeah. You know what? I think actually Roman would have turned heel at WrestleMania on Goldberg, it wouldn't have worked because people would have been into the idea of seeing Goldberg get the crap kicked out of him.
Yep.
So he would have turned. It'd be just the reverse of where we've been for a few years with the fans. WWE says cheer, everyone boos. We'd be swapping places. It'd be WWE says boo, everyone cheers.
I think a lot of people say NXT.
What's up?
A lot of people say NXT would have because they say NXT took kind of a big hit because of the pandemic. It kind of like the shows dropped in quality. So
yeah, if Charlotte stayed, that would have boosted viewership a lot.
Yep.
I think the whole point of putting her on NXT was going to be to test the idea of sending main roster stars back to boost viewership against AEW.
Would Becky have gotten pregnant?
Yeah, she was pregnant in April, I think.
Yeah, but would they have gotten pregnant because just Becky gotten pregnant because they probably didn't have a lot to do in the pandemic. Well, like, let's have a kid.
Well, that's how I became an uncle. Just ask my brother. You think I'm joking? I'm not.
What else? There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of what ifs. I'll say in the wrestling world, things to look forward to in 2021 are definitely going to be, knock on wood. Hopefully, things are on the up and up for everything as a whole, and obviously, the whole includes wrestling. So, if things get better, I'm sure we'll see fans come back.
Yep.
But outside of that, because that's just so obvious, I think the big thing to look forward to this year in wrestling isn't in ring. It's on Vice, and it's Dark Side of the Ring Season 3.
I still gotta watch the first 2 seasons.
Oh, man, I mean, that show is taking the world by storm, and it's crazy.
I think somebody actually brought this up, like, in comments and stuff. They want to see, like, it's like a light side of the ring where they look like the positive things that come out of wrestling, which I think would be nice.
That would be nice, yeah. But human nature, everyone loves reading the bad stuff.
But it'd be cool to see like a light side of the ring, like Daniel Bryan's journey in the WWE, because but you can make an argument that could be because that would probably start like as a dark side of the ring, but then become like a light side of the ring. Yeah,
I mean, the one thing I've wanted to see Dark Side of the Ring do for the longest time now is the steroid trial of the 90s with Vince, but they've had a lot of trouble getting Vince to agree to come on because, and I understand because, yes, Vince McMahon has done bad things.
Yeah.
And Vice has painted him in a pretty bad light.
Yeah.
So for Vince, I wouldn't really want to go on there either.
Probably what would be season 4 an episode, or at some point in the future if it keeps going, is the Speak Out Wrestling movement. That's probably going to be an episode.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that would definitely make an interesting episode. I mean, we still don't know how that whole thing turned out for Matt Riddle. I mean, he claims he's innocent, and it's obviously you can never tell with these things because the investigations are very difficult.
Like the Velveteen Dream one, Triple H just quickly was like, "Oh, we looked into it and we found nothing." So,
yeah, that one was weird. I mean, that one got swept under the rug. Honestly, it probably did, and that's why he hasn't been pushed as hard.
Yep. I mean, his run in general in NXT since it's gone to the USA Network hasn't been because he's been hurt, and then that happened.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing with Velveteen Dream is, I think for years now, Cena's been saying he wants to work with them. He wants to be the one he faces when he comes up to the main roster, but they need to find the time to do it. They're not going to do it in front of a crowd of 0. So,
yep. Well, anyhow, we got to end this video. We're just talking now. I'll plug my stuff. You can check out my CM Brothers channel. It should already be up. Several things, but if you're watching this for me right now, you should see a Death Note review. Not the last name. L the New World, I think it's called. That review will be up, and we're gonna review the 2017 Death Note movie that came out on Netflix, which I hear wasn't good, but I don't want to hear anything about it because I want to go in with no expectations of what
I
it's
made the
like.
mistake watching that as my first exposure to Death Note.
So we'll see how it is, and then on the Talkinator channel, we just uploaded. We just recorded. I'm gonna upload it after we get done with this. The Breaking Bad minisode episodes where we looked at all the minisodes that they did and reviewed them all. So there you go. That's all types of stuff to look forward to, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know the next time Steve Coakley's going to be on. Hopefully, it'll be for a rundown or Aftershock Corner, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, the only thing that's for sure about the Rampage is nothing's for sure.
There you go. It's a double positive, negative, whatever. Guess.
No, it's just something I stole from Sting.
There you go. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. We will talk to you guys later.